So much to get to after last night. As T-Bob came in and said this morning, really kind of felt like a true documentary last night, as you got a lot of sides, a lot of angles of Jordan's competitive spirit. Last night's episode 7 began with the 1993 retirement, and I'll always remember this, T, because it happened on my birthday. It happened on October 6th, 1993, which would have been my 13th birthday. And, you know, at probably the apex of my sports fandom, especially from an individual, an individual standpoint, talking about somebody like Michael Jordan, just what he meant to me in watching sports. I remember where I was. I remember my instant reaction. I remember that it was tears. I was crying. Thinking at the time that you were never going to see him play basketball again. And the last time you had seen him, he was winning championships, and he was so good, and he was great. You had posters on the wall, and you had highlight videos, and Michael Jordan's airtime, and all that stuff, man. I mean, that just you had and thought that he was gone, and to relive that and to see that time again brought me right back to that space. I mean, people talking and detailing Jordan's announcement. And I believe it was Michael Wilbon who said it was one of those moments where you'll always remember where you were. It was
interesting seeing people like lined up on street corners watching through, the windows at television stores or gathered around whatever TV feed they could find.
It's kind of weird that it happened at a Chicago White Sox game is where the news broke. He was there throwing out the first pitch to the White Sox game, but that was the start of it.
Kind of appropriate, I guess, with what he ended up doing, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was kind of weird to see that. That was the point and where that news had broke. But it brought you back to the time and when his father was murdered, which was obviously such a trying time for so many people around the Jordans and their family, but specifically for Michael because a lot of those images that you see from his initial basketball run before that October 6, 1993 retirement has his dad by his side.
24/7.
I mean, it seemed like his dad was his boy, man.
It was like he said, it wasn't just a dad thing. It was a friend thing. It was his best friend as well.
And then to hear that the last conversation that they had was about baseball, which, was a little eerie. So it shows the retirement into the decision to go play baseball. And I got to be honest, for as big of a Jordan fan as I was, and the fact that he was right there in Birmingham, I never knew how good of a baseball player he was becoming. I didn't know that like to hear Terry Francona, who's got so much experience around baseball, and he's got great stories. We have a great story about a pickup basketball game from his apartment complex in Birmingham in 94 that he'll recount coming up in our weekend winners. But to talk about the work ethic and to hear somebody like that has seen so many prospects and talk about the improvement that he was making and that he would have a true shot to make it to the bigs. I mean, I never thought, Jerry Reinsdorf, owner of the White Sox as well as the Bulls, has seen tons of baseball prospects. And, for him to believe that Jordan could have been a real player at the bigs, I didn't know that. I didn't know that till last night, that he could have been a true player at the highest level.
So I think that's something that I wanted to say about last night's episode is for me, and I'm sure there's some others that are probably my age where I was born in 89, and I thought I remembered Michael Jordan, but a lot of this documentary has revealed to me how little I actually remembered, because I don't really remember him retiring the first time. I didn't realize he came back in the middle of the season last night. So what I would call last night's episode for me, it was a good myth-busting couple of episodes, as I was susceptible to a lot of the conspiracy theories that they address. Just because in my ignorance, it was like, sure, why not, right? I don't know. So when I heard that his father was killed because of like a some sort of gambling debt or something, I was like, okay, yeah, that could definitely be possible. Or he left the league because he was forced out by some sort of gambling. I was like, yeah, sure. But now after this, and granted, documentaries, whatever, you can say they can make you feel a certain way, but sometimes the simplest explanations are best and make the most sense. And when you just look at everything on balance, those conspiracies that I was susceptible to, like just yesterday, seem absurd now. His father just seems like a completely tragic accident. It's not hard to understand why he would want to retire, right? After the day, he's grieving, he's exhausted. He's been working for those 3 championships. Like he said, he wanted to beat Larry and Magic. They had never gotten 3 in a row. He wanted to get that 3 in a row. It felt like a plateau to him. Maybe the most absurd one is his idea that David Stern forced him to retire. I love they got Stern on record, but he's like, I don't even have to really deny it because it's crazy. Like, why would I make the NBA's biggest cash cow leave the league? No way, dude. That was really good for me, I thought, to kind of address a lot of those rumors that I had always been susceptible to. But really, my biggest takeaways from last night is just that it was the first episode where we really got a look into his psyche. I thought it was very humanizing. And I liked when you saw emotion from Jordan last night. You saw him tear up with grief when he was talking about his father, which you can understand is completely natural. You saw him sobbing, overwhelmed after that 4th championship. This first championship
Father's Day.
Post his father's law. Yes, on Father's Day. Again, understandable. And then the maybe the most interesting, just from a conversational standpoint, was him tearing up after what I thought was the line of the night, where he said, people will see this and say he wasn't a nice guy. He may have been a tyrant. Well, that's you, because you never won anything. And then he's talking about, this. He wants to be liked. Everybody wants to be liked, right? And you can see that he's kind of wrestling with this idea that maybe people think he's mean or a jerk, or they don't like him, and he's kind of like, well, look, those are the sacrifices I made to win and to help all my boys win, and that competitive drive, and just even just talking about competition in that way, he almost gets overwhelmed with that emotion, and that's what showed throughout last night's episode. The dude is just a psycho when it comes to competition, and I mean that in a positive way. He's just relentless. It just never ends, and even the slightest of slights can be that fuel to get him going.
Well, I think that's what he's trying to explain last night, is that killer edge.
Yeah.
That people, even at the highest level, even people that compete every single day, somebody like Steve Kerr, let's just take, for example, Kerr, who was a high school All-American, could have gone to any college and played basketball he wanted in the country, ended up at Arizona, which was a basketball factory at the time, by Lute Olson, who was bringing in all types of players from all around the country. Kerr, at that point in his life, thinks that he's one of the elite basketball players in the world, right, or in the country at least, and goes and gets drafted, plays in Chicago, and runs across this teammate in Michael Jordan that he had just never experienced, never known.
Yeah.
And to hear him go through that description of that teammate and hear him talk about every single day, it's just relentless. A guy like Bill Winnington, who made it to the highest level in playing basketball, but he doesn't have that competitive drive that Jordan had when he was, young. And Jordan was talking about, even in the early parts of this docuseries, of, what the NBA culture was like at the time. His mentality was just very much different than that. And Winnington goes back and says, at the time, he was a jerk. He was a bleep hole. Nobody liked him. But looking back on what he was trying to do, and as Jordan explained last night, and what did he tell Bill Winnington when he said, when he got back to the '96 team? He said, Bill, you and I have never been teammates. Jump on the Cape.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, ride along. Yeah. And I'm going to take you with me, buddy.
That's what he said. He's going to drag you across the finish line whether you like it or not.
You're going to have great experiences. And in 20 years, when we do the documentary and we look back on all this stuff, you're going to be celebrating. You're going to have a man cave with 6 championships behind you, or 3 championships behind you.
And that's where it gets, another part is that it was interesting watching his reaction to all these guys that had come post that 3rd championship, right? Because they were kind of basking in the glories and the spoils, but they hadn't, and you could tell that it really irked him. They hadn't put in the work to earn those spoils. And so when he returned, it feels like he was even extra tough on his teammates for that reason, because he felt like they were, he felt like they were spoiled kids.
Absolutely.
Right? Like,
and
he came up when the Bulls were garbage.
He was established and really understood his reputation. I think that the press release shows that. When his agent, when Falk's going through, hey, look, here's the 3rd. Here's the 3rd I want you to look at. He's like, man, look, you're overthinking this. Just I'm back. Do you know who you're dealing with?
Yeah.
You're dealing with the most popular athlete on the planet, man. Everybody should really be waiting. Everybody's wanting this. And those few game comebacks, T, in 95, when he was getting right, he was trying to lose the baseball body and trying to get the basketball body back, and he was wearing 45. I still remember watching that Atlanta game on TNT, and him coming down and hitting that game winner and slamming the floor and running off, and hearing the Bulls broadcaster at the time, who Johnny Red, I believe is his name, but just that iconic voice that goes with all those Jordan game winners, and him saying he's back when he hit the game winner, and then going to Madison Square Garden and getting 55, and then running into Nick Anderson and the Orlando Magic in that playoff run when Horace Grant explained that, like, if we don't get it now, because he's going to be motivated to come back, and how good that 96 team was, man.
Good on Horace Grant. What a moment to get to beat the Bulls in that fashion. Now, unfortunately, couldn't take advantage to get past the Rockets, but yeah, I mean, Nick Anderson, so many mistakes last night. B.J. Armstrong, LeBradford, but Nick Anderson, 45 ain't 23. What are you doing?
The LeBradford Smith story sounds like it was made up.
Oh yeah,
you know,
I guess that's what Wilbon said.
You know, like Wilbon came to find out like that he had made that up. But the B.J. Armstrong, like to hit that shot, look at them, and in game one, and not think that that's going to get worse for you.
It's just the ultimate power move is just how MJ said it. B.J. knew better. Like he's chiding a child, right? Like BJ knew better than that.
There's so many moments where he still flexes on people. Like you mentioned the Gary Payton.
Oh,
like,
that's the one from last night. That
I mean, him laughing into the iPad at Gary Payton telling the story about how he could contain Mike.
It's some of the most brutal editing I've ever seen, especially because they set it up before with like the Gloves defense was effective. And then, look, they won these games, and here's Gary, and he's going to explain how. And MJ just thought it was like...
His facial expressions are the best, man.
Like, it was like it almost didn't even... We saw MJ take so many slights to the extreme last night. He feels so above the Glove that I don't even think he took that as a slight.
No, he didn't.
Like a man who can take anything as a slight.
In the face of it.
He's just like, that's absurd.
Yeah, right.
That's crazy, dude.
And when Gary Payton said, I mean, who knows what would have happened if they would have put me on him in the first two games? He's like putting his lips like, is he crazy?
Still, though, what was George Karl doing? Like you should have D'd up MJ with Glove from the beginning. But yeah, it was. I mean, well, I guess we'll continue to talk about it. But last night, man, it was the first time too where I just. Sometimes there's been moments in the series where I'm still interested, I'm still having fun, but I'm watching because I know I have to, right? Because we're going to talk about it a lot, and I like talking about it. But last night, I just couldn't tear my eyes away. Yeah, I was fully enthralled.
I would have paid admission, obviously. I mean, who would not have paid admission to go into the Warner Brothers set and watch those pickup games in the summer of shooting Space Jam?
Dude.
I mean, that looked like that was incredible.
That still is. I mean, it's like we said a couple weeks ago. He is the ultimate. Who with the Owls at night, soar with the Eagles during the day. The guy just has unlimited energy supplies to be filming all day long like that, and then to go work out, and then to go play pickup for hours. It's just how you could keep up that pace like he did. And it's not like he's playing against scrubs.
There is,
he's playing against the best.
There is so many great moments in these documentaries that just takes you back. I don't think that there is one moment that I loved more than going inside of the Bulls practice facility and seeing Jordan chew on a lit cigar with a baseball bat in his hand after game one of that Charlotte series, and somebody asking him behind the camera, whether it's a staff or teammate or somebody on that production team, asking him if he's pissed off about the B.J. Armstrong shot, and he's chewing on the cigar and gripping the baseball bat and talking out loud about, no, why should I be pissed? And talking about how tough guys can talk that bleep when they're up one game, but it's tough to do it when you're tied. And that is just a little peek inside of some of Jordan's over the top, competitive, I'm going to kick your ass from start to finish next time I see you. That was just, it was cold-blooded in just the sense of hearing him and look at him. You knew that you were looking at something different.
He looked like a samurai master. Like how he was holding that bat. He was kind of like, just casually like going through his motions or whatever, practicing,
chewing
just
on that cigar,
so calm and collected. But like someone who, beneath that calm veneer, you could really feel the passion or the drive for revenge right underneath the surface. And he just looked like a master about to go do a master's work, and sure enough, that's what he ended up doing.
No, why would I be pissed?
Yeah.
I mean, just like, look out, BJ.
Also, just from a basic human standpoint, I remain amazed at Michael Jordan's ability to smoke cigars and play basketball.